6 o'clock. The clock strikes, but the chimes stay silent. Sir Henry looks up. The club hall, quiet. A servant steps forward. He carries an envelope, heavy, cream paper, sealed with red wax. "Sir Henry Clithering?" the servant asks. Sir Henry nods. He takes the envelope. Marple sits nearby. Her knitting rests in her lap. Her eyes, watching. Small eyes, sharp eyes. Sir Henry studies the seal. The wax looks firm, but the edge, soft. He notices. He says nothing. He breaks it open. Inside, one sheet. Short words, dark writing. He reads aloud. "If I'm found dead, charge Evelyn March." Marple's hands pause. Her needles, still. She does not blink. Her lips press tight. Sir Henry lowers the page. His brow folds. "Evelyn March?" he mutters. He looks at Marple. She shakes her head. Once. "Strange," she whispers. "Why name her?" The servant waits. His eyes shift. He bows and leaves. Sir Henry stares at the paper. The words disturb him, so direct, so bare. No date, no signature, just the line. Marple leans closer, her voice low. "Why would he write this? And why to you?" Sir Henry frowns. He checks the envelope again. The seal, broken, the flap, bent. Wax crumbles on his fingers. He folds the sheet. He slips it back. "Armitage is a careful man," he says. "He would not send nonsense." Marple nods. "But perhaps not nonsense. Perhaps warning." Sir Henry looks at the mantel clock. The hands read 6, but still, no chimes. He sighs. "Curious detail," he says. Marple tilts her head. "Silence often hides meaning," she says. He taps the envelope. "Why her name?" He shakes his head. He looks uneasy. Marple stays quiet. The hall door opens. Another servant enters. He walks fast, his face pale. He looks around. He spots Sir Henry. "Message, sir," he says. His voice trembles. "From the library." Sir Henry rises. "What is it?" The servant swallows. He glances at Marple, then back at Sir Henry, his throat tight, his words short. "Armitage is dead." The door was locked. The silence was louder than any chime. Sir Henry stood still. The servant waited. Marple followed close. Inspector Slack arrived. His eyes sharp, his tone firm. "Key?" Slack asked. The butler nodded. He unlocked the door. The hinges creaked. They stepped in. Basil Armitage sat in the chair, head tilted, face pale, eyes half open, no breath. On the rug, a revolver near his hand. The barrel smoked faint. The trigger bent back. Beside the chair, shards of glass, scattered wide, thin edges glimmered. The decanter stood cracked, half full, one glass overturned, the other shattered. Slack raised his hand. "Stand back. No one touch." He bent near the body. He touched the wrist. Cold. He shook his head. "Dead," he said flatly. "Shot clean. One bullet." Sir Henry frowned. "He warned me." He held up the envelope. "He wrote her name." Slack glanced at the page. His brow creased. He did not speak. Marple stepped closer. Her eyes roved the floor. Her hands clasped. She leaned low. "The glass fell after the shot," she murmured. "The scatter shows it." Slack looked up. "You suggest suicide?" Marple shook her head. "Suicide does not leave such order." Slack snorted. "Gun in hand, door locked, alone in room. It reads suicide." Sir Henry spoke firm. "Yet a letter warns murder that cannot be brushed aside." Slack paced slow. He pointed at the rug. "The gun rests close. His prints may show. If so, suicide." Marple looked again. "Or staged," she said. "The rug tells nothing. The gun was placed." Slack folded arms. "You claim murder? Then who entered? The door locked from inside." Sir Henry's face set hard. He had enemies. Lionel Dane, Evelyn March. He feared them both. Slack nodded once. "But fear does not prove murder." Marple's voice cut low. Locks can lie, seals can break, notes can mislead. Slack frowned deeper. You saw the door, locked tight, no window open. Marple's eyes narrowed. Still, no suicide. The glass says so. The gun says so. The silence says so. Sir Henry looked uneasy. He tapped the folded page. This letter cannot be false. He meant it. He knew. Slack lifted the revolver with a handkerchief. He studied the chamber. One bullet fired. No powder burns on his hand. Marple's eyes lit sharp. No burns. Slack nodded. None. Sir Henry leaned closer. Then how could he fire it? Slack frowned again. He set the revolver down, his jaw tight, his voice slow. Perhaps another fired it, yet the room was sealed. Marple whispered, steady, clear. This was no suicide. Her name was already written. Evelyn March sat across the table. Inspector Slack stood over her. Sir Henry kept the letter folded in his hand. Marple sat quiet, knitting unused in her lap. Slack spoke first. You know why you are here? Evelyn raised her chin, her voice steady. No, I do not. Slack unfolded the sheet. He read the line aloud. If I am found dead, charge Evelyn March. Evelyn's eyes flashed. Her lips parted. She stared at the words. That is madness, she said. I never touched him, never. Sir Henry leaned forward. You quarreled with him. Her hands tightened on the chair. Yes, we quarreled. He blocked my work. He mocked me. He ruined months of labor. But quarrel is not murder. Slack's tone was blunt. You had motive. Evelyn's eyes narrowed. Motive is not guilt. Ask yourself, why would he write my name? He hated me. He would love to stain me, even in death. Marple finally spoke, her words calm. Where were you? At 6? Evelyn answered quick. I was at the club. Many saw me. Slack crossed his arms. Who exactly? Evelyn paused. Then she said, Sir Henry saw me. He can confirm it. Sir Henry frowned. I saw you pass by, a lilac scarf. But distance blurs faces. I cannot swear. Evelyn's tone grew sharp. I spoke to you, Sir Henry, at the hall. You looked at me. You heard me. Do not pretend otherwise. Slack tapped the table. You claim you were here, yet Armitage died there. At the same time, how convenient. Evelyn shot back. How convenient for his enemies. Lionel Dane wanted him gone. He had reason to kill, not me. Sir Henry raised his voice. Still, your name is on the page. His hand wrote it. Evelyn leaned forward. Or someone forged it. A letter can be twisted. Ink can be faked. Why trust it blindly? Marple watched her closely. Her eyes rested on the scarf looped around Evelyn's neck. Lilac wool. Distinct shade. Strange choice of words in the note, Marple said. Not she killed me. Not beware, Evelyn. Just a command. Charge her. Short. Forceful. Too neat. Evelyn shook her head. I cannot explain his words, but I did not fire that gun. Slack slammed his palm flat. Then explain the quarrel. Explain your last visit to his study. Evelyn's eyes tightened. I told him I would publish the truth. He laughed at me. He said no one would believe me. He swore to ruin me. That is the last I saw him alive. Sir Henry unfolded the letter again. He stared at her. He meant for us to act on these words. We cannot ignore them. Evelyn leaned closer, her eyes locked on his, her voice cold. You saw me there yourself. 2 enemies, one dead, one alive, both accused. Lionel Dane entered the room, tall, dark suit, eyes sharp, with defiance. Inspector Slack faced him. You knew Basil Armitage. Lionel nodded once. Yes, I knew him. You quarreled often. Lionel gave a dry laugh. He stole my work. He twisted my words. He lived to block me. Sir Henry spoke firm. You threatened him last month. Lionel's jaw tightened. He ruined my career. He cut off my contracts. He called me a fraud. If I spoke loud, it was because truth demands noise. Slack leaned in. Truth sounds like motive. Lionel spread his hands. Motive, yes. Murder, no. Marple stayed silent. Her eyes moved to the desk blotter on the table. Faint marks ran across the sheet. Letters backward. Dark, pressed strokes. Sir Henry bent over it. He traced the lines. They form a name. Slack squinted. Speak it. Sir Henry whispered. Lionel D. Lionel stepped forward. What trick is this? Marple's voice, calm. It is no trick. The blotter keeps memory. Every line pressed leaves its ghost. Lionel glared. So his hand wrote my name. Then why burn the other blotter? Slack frowned. Other blotter? Lionel pointed at the fireplace. Ashes clung inside. Charred scraps. Visible. Slack pulled one piece out. He read the half-burnt line. Charge Evelyn March. Sir Henry stiffened. 2 names, 2 drafts. Marple's needles clicked once. Her eyes stayed steady. 2 enemies. 1 letter. The question is, which came first? Lionel's voice shook with anger. You think I killed him? You think I broke into his study and wrote my own name on his blotter? What fool would do that? Slack's tone dry. Perhaps you were clumsy. Perhaps he caught you. Perhaps you fired in rage. Lionel clenched his fists. You see malice everywhere. I was nowhere near this place. Sir Henry's gaze did not soften. You had reason. He held your reputation hostage. Lionel struck the desk with his palm. He mocked me. He cut me down. But I am no killer. I write with words, not guns. Marple's head tilted, her voice quiet. Yet the blotter holds your name. Lionel froze. He looked at the faint lines again. Or someone wanted you to see it. Someone copied it heavy. Someone pressed hard to leave my name behind. Slack raised an eyebrow. Then who burned the other blotter? Lionel spread his hands. Ask her, Evelyn. Her name shines brighter on that ash than mine. Sir Henry tapped the folded letter again. 1 dead man, 2 names, both sworn enemies. 1 must be true. Marple lifted her eyes, her voice sharp, without pause. The dead man, named 2. The fire still smelled of paper. Inspector Slack crouched near the hearth. Ash crumbled under his fingers. He drew out blackened scraps, edges curled, words faint, but visible. Sir Henry leaned close. He brushed soot aside. He read slowly. Charge Evelyn March. The letter stood bold. The rest was gone. The edges eaten by flame. Slack frowned. So this was the draft. Marple nodded once, her voice calm. Yes, but why burn it? Sir Henry tapped the charred corner. Because it condemned her, too openly, too soon. Lionel Dane folded his arms. Or because it did not fit the story. He wrote my name first, then hers. He tried to blame both. Slack shot him a look. You speak too quick. Lionel sneered. I know how this looks. But think, who burns 1 note and leaves another? Not me. Why would I hide? My name already shows. Marple's gaze stayed on the ash. Half burnt, not destroyed. Someone wanted it gone, but not too clean. A mistake or a rush. Sir Henry unfolded the intact letter again. He compared it to the burned fragment. The same hand, the same heavy press, both from Armitage. But the intent changed. Slack rubbed his chin. First he writes Lionel D., then Evelyn March. Why 2 drafts? Marple's answer came soft. Because the first did not serve the plan. Evelyn March stiffened in her chair. You think I touched his desk? You think I burned his blotter? Impossible. I never entered that room. Slack glared at her. Your name, in the ashes, says otherwise. Evelyn's voice shook. Anyone could write my name. Anyone could burn paper. I was seen at the club. Sir Henry raised a brow. Were you? Or was that trick? Evelyn's lips tightened. She said nothing more. Lionel leaned forward. Look at the evidence. First my name, then hers. Why both? Unless he doubted, unless he was forced. Marple's eyes did not leave the fireplace. Her hands folded still. Not doubt. Calculation. He was being staged. Slack's tone sharp. Staged by whom? Marple looked at the two scraps together. One whole, one half-burned. Two names, two enemies. She spoke slow. One sheet saved, one sheet destroyed, but both tell the same tale, and the hand may be his. But the timing is not. Sir Henry asked, You mean, the letter was written later? Marple nodded. Yes, written to fit a scene, crafted to accuse, rewritten for effect. Slack leaned in. Why rewrite? Marple raised her eyes. To move suspicion, where it should not go. To cover truth, with smoke. The fire hissed low. Ash drifted down. Marple's voice cut clear. Someone rewrote the accusation. Ink fades. Pencil lingers. Marple held the note. She tilted it under the lamp. The strokes looked sharp. Too sharp. Too dark. She placed the sheet flat. Her hand pressed it firm. She spoke quiet. This is not common ink. Slack frowned. What else could it be? Marple picked a small cloth. She dipped it in water. She pressed it gently, on one word. The color bled. It grew darker, not lighter. Sir Henry leaned forward. His eyes widened. A copying pencil. Marple nodded. Yes, not ink. Pencil dyed with aniline. When dampened, it grows deep purple. Slack bent over the sheet. He rubbed another corner. The mark deepened, the same way. He stared. Why use this? Marple's voice calm. To deceive. Copying pencil lasts. It leaves bold lines. That looked new when wet. Sir Henry tapped the desk. So this note could have been written days ago, even weeks. Marple agreed. Exactly. And when dampened, the words appear fresh, as if written an hour before. Slack scowled. So the letter's time means nothing. Marple nodded again. Yes. The date cannot be trusted. Someone revived the strokes. Evelyn March sat straighter, her voice sharp. Do you hear? He wrote it before, long before. I could not have been in that room tonight. He prepared this to smear me. Sir Henry studied her. Convenient for you. Too convenient. Evelyn's hands shook. Convenient or not, it is truth. Look at the cloth. Look at the lines. They glow purple now. Would ink behave that way? Never. Slack muttered low. Then the note could have been staged. At any hour, anyone could place it. Marple's eyes lifted. Yes, that is the point. The timing vanishes. The letter loses its power. Sir Henry still frowned. But it bears his hand. No one forged his writing. It is his stroke. Marple agreed. Yes, his stroke, but used at another's command, or placed at another's time. Slack stepped back. So Evelyn gains strength. Her alibi stands taller now. Evelyn pressed her point. I was in the club. People saw me. And now, the note cannot trap me. It proves nothing. Sir Henry's voice cut firm. Yet Armitage is dead, and someone fired that gun. Lionel Dane spoke from the corner. Then look at me. His blotter bore my name. My quarrels were loud, but even I see the trick here. Someone twisted both of us. Slack's jaw tightened. Two names, two drafts, both meant to confuse. Marple folded the cloth. She set it down, slow. Her eyes never left the paper. The trick is clear. The pencil speaks louder than ink. Sir Henry raised the sheet. His hand trembled, his voice low. Then who wrote this? When? Wax tells stories. Hard. Software fresh. Old. Sir Henry placed the envelope flat. Slack leaned over it. Marple sat close, her eyes fixed. Sir Henry tapped the wax seal. Look here. One edge is firm, the other soft. Slack touched it with a matchstick. It bent slightly. Still pliable. Strange, he muttered. Wax should harden once cool. Marple's voice came low. Yes, unless it was reheated. Evelyn leaned forward. You mean someone opened it? Someone broke the flap? Marple nodded. Possible. A hot blade, then resealed with the same wax. Sir Henry frowned, but it looked whole. When I received it. Marple agreed. Yes, it was meant to. But the difference shows. The center crisp, the edge softened, not natural. Slack squinted. Could Armitage himself have done this? Marple shook her head. No reason. He would not send a half-broken seal. He was precise. He cared for appearances. Sir Henry pressed harder. His finger caught a crack. The wax chipped away. Inside the flap, faint smudge lines. Not from today. Slack said sharply, so the letter was tampered with after he wrote it, or before it reached you. Lionel spoke cold. Then someone here planned this. They had time. They had tools. They used his note, but changed its moment. Marple studied the fragments. Her tone stayed calm. Think. To reseal, heat must be applied. Not enough to melt fully, just enough to soften. Quick hands, steady hands. Evelyn crossed her arms. So this proves my case. Someone planted it. Someone used my name. Sir Henry's eyes narrowed. Or you resealed it yourself. Evelyn stiffened. Her voice rose. I never touched it. I never saw it until today. Slack's gaze hardened. You had cause and chance. Marple interrupted. Not so fast. Look again. The wax color is faintly mixed. One part bright red, the other dull. That shows two applications. Not one continuous, Seal Sir Henry whispered. Then the envelope was opened. The sheet placed, or adjusted, then closed again. Slack rubbed his chin. That means the timing of delivery means nothing. It could have been slipped in, hours before. Lionel laughed bitterly. Hours? Days. This entire club could be fooled. No one checks wax that close. Marple held up the broken piece. Yet it tells truth. Wax remembers heat. It remembers pressure. Evelyn leaned closer. So the accusation against me is worthless. It proves nothing. If the seal was broken, the note could be moved, altered, or swapped. Sir Henry stared hard at her. Still it bears his hand. Still, it carries weight. Marple raised her eyes, her voice cut firm. This letter was resealed. The clock ticked, but the club heard no chimes. Sir Henry stood before the mantel. The face showed 6, the hands exact. Yet the air was silent. Slack pointed. Why no sound? The butler stepped forward. The mechanism jams, sir. It often fails to strike. Marple's eyes sharpened. Fails. Or silenced. The butler hesitated. It needed winding earlier. Sergeant Lake tended it. Slack turned. Lake. The sergeant nodded. Yes, I used the key, but the hammer's stuck. Marple's fingers tapped the chair arm. No chimes at 6. So the room believed the hour less certain. Sir Henry frowned. And the envelope arrived at 6 sharp. Marple corrected him. Appeared to, but without the chimes. Who marked the moment? The hands could be read wrong. The messenger could step early or late. None would know. Slack narrowed his eyes. So the letter's timing was staged. Marple nodded. Yes. Someone counted on silence. The strike hidden, the delivery bent. Evelyn March sat forward. Then my alibi holds. I was seen at 6. If the time shifted, it clears me. Sir Henry looked doubtful. Or it damns you further. If you controlled the clock, you controlled the moment. Evelyn's face flushed. I touched no clock. Ask Lake. Ask the staff. I never went near it. Lionel Dane gave a dry laugh. How neat. The time wrong. The letter new. Every piece. Plays her tune. Slack paced once. Explain it clear, Miss Marple. Marple lifted her head. The clock did not strike. The club relied on sight alone. Easy to mistake 1 minute for another. Easy to slide the message in, unnoticed. A false 6 o'clock created. That is the trick. Sir Henry rubbed his chin. Then the letter might have been planted well before the body was found. Marple agreed. Yes, or after. The clock's silence freed the hand of the culprit. Slack pressed his lips. Which means Evelyn's so-called presence at the club proves nothing. It rests on a broken hour. Evelyn shook her head quickly. Number men saw me. Sir Henry himself spoke to me. Sir Henry looked uneasy. A scarf, a glance in passing, and assumed it was you. Evelyn snapped back. Then you confirm it. You saw me there. Marple's voice cut through. Or you were seen because the clock allowed you to be seen. A trick of timing, a stolen minute, enough to split you in two. Slack stared hard at Evelyn, his voice heavy. So Evelyn had an alibi she never earned. The scarf told the truth. Miss Grey sat stiff in the chair, her hands folded, her eyes darted. Inspector Slack leaned forward. You work for Evelyn March. Miss Grey nodded. Yes, I am her secretary. You fetch her notes. You carry her messages? Yes. Sir Henry spoke. You were at the club this evening. Miss Grey swallowed. Yes, I was. Marple studied her closely, her eyes fixed on the lilac scarf. The same shade Evelyn wore earlier. Tell us, Marple said softly. Why wear that scarf tonight? Miss Grey hesitated. Her fingers tightened. She asked me to. Slack's voice grew sharp. Why? Miss Grey's lips trembled. She said she felt ill. She asked me to step in, just for an hour, to be seen in her place. Sir Henry stiffened. You mean you posed as her? Miss Grey nodded slowly. Yes, only to pass by, only to nod. She said no one would notice. Slack slammed his hand on the table. Then the alibi is worthless. Evelyn March shot up from her chair. It was nothing, a simple cover. I needed time alone, that is all. Marple's voice stayed calm. You sent your secretary to play your part, to be seen, to fool the eye. Evelyn's tone turned cold. And if I did? It proves nothing of murder, only discretion, only fear of gossip. Sir Henry shook his head. Number it, proves planning, deception before a death. Lionel Dane gave a bitter laugh. She tricked all of you. You nodded at her. But it was a ghost, a puppet in a scarf. Miss Grey lowered her head. I did as told. I wore the scarf. I walked the hall. Sir Henry greeted me. Then I slipped away. Sir Henry's face tightened. His hand clenched the chair arm. I greeted you? Miss Grey nodded again. Yes, sir. You looked at me. You said good evening. You thought I was Miss March. Slack's tone cut hard. So Evelyn built her alibi? With borrowed cloth. Marple tapped her knitting needle. The scarf tells the truth. It was her shield, not proof of innocence. Evelyn's eyes burned. You twist simple things. A scarf, a glance, a mistake. None of it shows murder. Marple's tone sharpened. It shows intent. A woman preparing to be two people at once. One to be seen, one to act unseen. Sir Henry rose to his feet, his voice firm. Then the truth is plain. He looked at Miss Grey. He looked at Evelyn, his words heavy. I spoke to the wrong woman. An alibi built on silence, breaks loudest. Inspector Slack spread the evidence on the table. The note, the envelope, the blotter fragments, the scarf. Marple sat still. Her needles rested. Her eyes did not. Slack spoke first. The pencil shows forgery of time. He pointed to the damp cloth. The words, darkened purple, not fresh ink, old pencil, revived, to look new. Sir Henry added, the seal shows tampering. One side crisp, one side soft. The flap opened, the flap resealed. Marple leaned in. The clock shows silence, no chimes at 6. The hour false. Delivery time staged. Slack held up the scarf. And this shows deceit, a borrowed identity. The assistant walked in her place. He turned to Evelyn. Your alibi is gone. Evelyn's face tightened, her lips pressed thin. You twist everything. You turn small things into weapons. Sir Henry's tone hardened. They are not small things. They are pieces of a single plan, a plan made by you. Evelyn shook her head. Number, I am not guilty. He hated me. He wanted me ruined, even dead. He curses my name. Marple's voice steady. He did not write 2 drafts for hate. He wrote one. Someone else changed it. Someone else burned one, saved the other. Lionel Dane's voice cut in. Yet both names appear. Mine. Heron, the dead man, accused too. Why not call this his own confusion? Marple turned to him. The blotter impression was faint, half hidden. The burnt note screamed her name. That was not confusion. That was choice. Evelyn stood suddenly. Her hands trembled. You want me guilty, all of you. You think I shot him. You think I staged it all. But it is lies. Lies built on scraps. Slack's voice sharp. Scraps enough to hang you. Evelyn's breath quickened. She looked at Marple, her eyes wide. You call this justice, guesswork, and fragments? Marple answered quiet. Number patterns, and patterns speak louder than alibis. Sir Henry stepped closer. You cannot hide. Every thread leads back to you. The letter, the seal, the silence, the scarf. All yours. Evelyn's voice broke. No, you don't understand. Slack pressed. Then explain. Explain the glass on the floor. Explain the shot, with no burns on his hand. Explain the clock wound wrong. Explain the scarf. Evelyn shook. Her shoulders sagged. Her lips quivered. Her voice came sharp, torn. It was an accident. The truth came fast, like a shot. Evelyn's voice cracked. Her hands trembled. Her eyes darted. Yes, I quarreled with him. Inspector Slack leaned forward. When? Tonight, she whispered. I went to his study. He mocked me. He said my work was worthless. He said no one would ever read me again. Sir Henry's brow furrowed. And then? Evelyn pressed her palms together. He laughed. He called me a thief. He said I lived on scraps of his glory. Her breath caught. I snapped. I grabbed the revolver from the desk. I told him to stop. He kept laughing. Slack's tone sharp. So, you fired? Evelyn's voice shook. Yes, I fired. I did not mean to. It was rage, a flash, 1 second, and it was done. She covered her face. Tears streaked down, her words muffled. He slumped back. He did not speak again. The glass fell from the table. I heard it shatter. That is all. Lionel Dane muttered low. So the mighty editor dies to his own cruelty. Slack barked at him. Silence. He turned back to Evelyn. You killed him, then you dressed. The scene. Evelyn lowered her hands, her eyes red, her lips tight. Yes, I panicked. I thought of prison. I thought of ruin. I thought of my name. Dragged in dirt. She swallowed hard. I staged it. I wrote again on the blotter. I burned 1 sheet. I left the other. I resealed the envelope. I made it look like his last words. Sir Henry's voice, cold. You accused yourself. You thought a paradox would save you. Evelyn nodded weakly. Yes. If he named me, then no one would believe it. Too simple. Too obvious. They would look away. They would search elsewhere. Slack shook his head. A fool's game. Evelyn's hands clenched. I sent Gray with the scarf. She walked the hall. Sir Henry greeted her. My alibi was fixed, all while I hid the truth. In the fire. Marple spoke, steady. You forgot. The clock. Evelyn blinked. What? The chimes. They did not sound. You counted on that silence, but silence betrays as much as noise. Evelyn slumped back, her shoulders heavy, her eyes closed. Yes. I silenced the hammers. I wound it wrong. I thought no one would notice, but you noticed. Slack stood tall. You built a wall of lies, pencil, seal, clock, scarf, all to cover. One shot. Evelyn's whisper barely carried. I only wanted him quiet, just quiet, not dead, but when it was done, I could not undo it. The room stayed tense, eyes fixed on her. Her voice faded. I'm guilty. You have it all. Marple leaned forward, her tone sharp. But even lies leave footprints, step by step, every move, every lie. Marple rose slowly, her hands folded, her voice calm. We must place events in order. The hour is false, the scene is staged. Now. We strip it bare. Sir Henry nodded. Show us. Marple pointed at the chair. Armitage was shot before 6. The wound, the cooling body. Prove it. He did not die at the moment the letter appeared. He was already gone. Slack folded his arms. Go on. Marple continued. The quarrel happened. Rage flared. The revolver fired. Armitage fell back. The glass slipped. It broke against the floor. That was the true moment of death. Evelyn's head sank. Her hands twisted together. Marple went on. She panicked. She searched for escape. She turned to his desk. She found the blotter. She wrote again. She pressed hard. The impression of Lionel D. remained. But she burned that sheet. She saved the one that bore her name. Sir Henry lifted the charred scrap. Half burnt, a rush. Marple nodded. Yes, she tried to destroy, but haste betrayed her. The fire held fragments. Slack gestured at the envelope. And the seal? Marple explained. She opened it. She placed the new sheet. She reheated the wax. The seal looked whole, but the edge grew soft. That was her error. Slack muttered. And the pencil. Marple held up the damp cloth. Copying pencil. Its lines never fade. When moistened, they darken again. She revived the strokes to make them look fresh, but the trick revealed itself. Sir Henry tapped the mantel clock. And the silence? Marple's eyes fixed on it. She wound it wrong. She silenced the chimes. The club believed the hour by sight only. The messenger walked in at the false moment. The room accepted it as 6, but 6 had already passed. Armitage was already dead. Slack exhaled slow. So she bought herself an alibi, seen outside at the false hour, free of suspicion. Marple turned to Miss Grey. She gave her the scarf. She sent her down the hall. Sir Henry greeted her. He thought he saw Evelyn, but it was Grey. The mask of an alibi. Miss Grey lowered her head. She said nothing. Marple faced Evelyn. You believed the paradox would save you, a letter in your name, a sighting at the club. 2 facts that should not fit. Yet both pointed away. You thought the trap was clever. Evelyn's lips quivered. She did not speak. Slack's tone grew harsh. But every piece fits back now. The pencil, the seal, the clock, the scarf. All strands pulled into one rope, and that rope ties around you. Sir Henry's jaw tightened. It leaves, no doubt. Marple's final words struck firm. Step by step, the lies collapse. Slack looked at Evelyn, his voice cold. Then we charge her, tonight. Accused to be innocent, innocent to be guilty. Marple sat forward, her hands folded, her tone clear. This is the paradox, a puzzle built on one line, the victim's words turned into a shield, and also into a weapon. Slack frowned. Explain it. Marple lifted the letter. Look closely. If I am found dead, charge Evelyn March. Simple. Direct her. Too direct. Most would dismiss it at once. Too obvious. Too convenient. Sir Henry nodded slowly. Yes, a man naming his killer so plainly makes doubt. And doubt protects the named. Marple continued. Exactly. She counted on that doubt. She believed the clearer the accusation, the safer she would be. The letter would point straight at her, yet no one would accept it. Slack scowled, so she thought she could hide, in plain sight. Marple nodded. Yes, the paradox works both ways. If accused, she becomes innocent. If ignored, suspicion moves elsewhere. Either path seemed safe. Lionel Dane leaned back, and I was the elsewhere. Marple turned, her gaze to him. Correct. His blotter bore your name faintly. That gave you the role of rival suspect, enough to confuse, enough to split. The hunt. Sir Henry spoke firmly. So she wanted two names, one too obvious, one too faint. Together, they made a maze. Marple agreed. Precisely. The faint impression suggested one enemy. The burnt sheet screamed another. A clever balance. The living chased shadows, while the truth stayed hidden. Slack tapped the table. Yet, she slipped. Marple's tone sharpened. She forgot that lies must hold forever. The wax betrayed heat. The pencil betrayed age. The clock betrayed silence. The scarf betrayed disguise. Each flaw pulled the thread loose. Evelyn's face hardened. Her lips pressed thin. You think me a fool. But I played the only hand I had. Marple's eyes stayed fixed. You played it well. But paradox cannot guard against patience. Truth waits. Truth weighs every fragment until it fits. Sir Henry leaned closer. Still the plan was daring, to use his own hand, to twist his own words, to set a trap with his voice. Marple nodded. Yes, daring. She gambled that the police would not trust what was too neat, that they would dismiss the charge as false, that they would chase Lionel instead, for a time. It nearly worked, Slack muttered, until the cloth darkened, until the seal cracked. Marple's words cut sharp, and until the scarf betrayed her. No trick can cover every track. The room held silence. The letter lay open, the ashes cold. Sir Henry looked at Evelyn, his tone final, brilliant and fatal. The game ends when the cuffs close. Inspector Slack stepped forward. His hand rested on the steel, his voice cold. Evelyn March, you are under arrest. Evelyn stiffened. Her eyes darted left. Her lips parted. She shook her head. No, not yet. Not me. Slack pulled the cuffs free. The chain rattled sharp. He moved closer, his tone firm. You confessed. You staged. You lied. The pieces all led back. There's no escape. Evelyn's breath came fast. Her hands rose, as if to push him back. But her strength failed. Her fingers trembled. Her voice cracked. I never meant to kill him. Slack's reply cut short. You fired. The gun. Evelyn collapsed back in the chair. Her arms hung limp, her voice weak. Yes. Miss Gray covered her mouth. Her eyes filled. Her shoulders shook. She whispered, I helped. I wore the scarf. I walked the hall. Forgive me. Evelyn turned her head sharply. Quiet. Say nothing more. Slack glared at the secretary. You knew. You took part. Miss Gray broke down. Her words poured. She said it was only for appearance. She said no harm would come. She begged me. I thought it harmless. Sir Henry's eyes hardened. You became her mask. You carried her lie. Miss Gray sobbed. I did not. No, a man lay dead. Slack raised a hand. Enough. The court will judge. Your role. Lionel Dane leaned against the wall. He said nothing. His arms folded, his gaze fixed on Evelyn. No smile, no pity, only silence. Evelyn looked toward him, her lips curled faint. You enjoy this. You wanted this end. Lionel spoke flat. I wanted truth, and truth is bitter. Slack snapped the cuffs around her wrists. The steel clicked shut. The sound echoed. Evelyn winced, her head bowed, her voice low. You cannot know what he did to me." Marple tilted her head, her eyes sharp, her words steady. "What did he do?" Evelyn's breath shook, her eyes glassed, her lips pressed, then parted. "He forced me." Murder never ends in the act. It ends in the silence after. Sir Henry sat heavy in the chair. The letter lay flat on the desk, the seal broken, the words dark. Marple set aside her knitting. Her voice was quiet. "Evil hides in clever tricks, but cleverness always leaves cracks." Sir Henry sighed. She thought herself untouchable. A paradox as armor, a name written as shield. Marple nodded. She believed no one would trust what was too neat. She gambled that doubt itself would protect her. For a time it did. Sir Henry leaned forward, but the fragments spoke. The pencil, the wax, the clock, the scarf. Small flaws, yet enough. Marple's eyes stayed on the note. The dead man's voice was used, his hand turned against truth. She tried to make his last words a trap, not for her, but for others. Sir Henry muttered, "Terrible. To twist a victim's voice against the living." Marple agreed softly. Yes, it gave her strength. For a moment. But lies do not breathe long. They wither. They fall apart. Sir Henry rubbed his temple. The paradox almost worked. If not for you, it might have held. She might have walked free. Marple's eyes narrowed. Not free. Never free. Even if the law faltered, the truth pressed on. Patterns remain. They demand to be seen. He looked at her. "You saw the pattern before any of us." She shook her head gently. "I only listened to silence, to wax, to cloth, to the clock. That did not strike." Sir Henry gave a faint nod. A clock without a chime, a scarf without a face, a note without a time, each small, yet each fatal. Marple's words cut steady. Crimes hide in detail. That is where truth waits, not in the loud claims, but in the small breaks. Sir Henry's eyes lingered on the broken seal. Strange. One man writes, and another reshapes his hand. The victim died twice, once in the chair, once in his own words. Marple did not answer at once. She touched the folded letter. She spoke low. Words carry weight. Used rightly, they save. Used falsely, they kill again, Sir Henry whispered. Then Evelyn built her crime on stolen voice. Marple nodded, and that theft undid her. She thought herself clever, but cleverness without truth is fragile. Silence filled the room. The fire burned low. The clock ticked faint. Sir Henry rose slowly. He looked down at Marple. Justice feels heavy. It does not end with chains. It ends with loss. Marple's eyes softened. Yes, the living suffer. The dead cannot speak. Yet their silence points. It always points. Sir Henry took the letter one last time. He folded it. He placed it aside. His voice dropped. In the end, it was not the clock that lied. It was the heart.